All right, Busunya Mami Namakwa Basonkoso about GH Politics Avenue, Ghana Politics Avenue. Hana open all the trending political stories in Ghana. Once between a can the next story the Bremu, which is a very interesting. We friend the clash of the Titans and a clash of the Titans. Lawyers for good and for me, Baku NPP, Baku NDC, no Mabishiana. In fact, I educate I inform me about all the processes involved in making a law in Ghana and about the OSP office, Special Prosecutor Office. No, a quite fast so brand, but then the mistakes near in fact they've educated is. Bubble story is an answer and a Bubble story. Then they can batch and you saw that remember source. Over subscribe to the channel, no subscribe you are after notification, but not Udon Sabo say video any video of Rubia on Sabeka Biano, yes, yet Babadum Bian Sabekan in Temp na on the Kosogana Manus to memorial story. A lawyer Edudzi Tamakloe of NDC and a lawyer Egyaper Mercer of NPP. Now lawyer Edudzi Tamakloe, in fact, why Egyaper Mercer poto TV3 New Day show so in fact what chain will indicate what may say lawyer and your lawyer. I don't know, say, and Simbu, I see the politics to any propaganda to any council near can law. When you're dealing with law, we deal with law. Now, in fact, we're going to mass or men who say, lawyers need or lawyers now, lawyer. There will be a kusku, be a kusku. When you could see confrontation, of course, with TV3 New Day, Edudzi Tamakloe is schooling Egyaper Mercer on law, any home and got by body do be an son, but I Ghana politics. I mean, good to
So if you recall, so the conversation on politics and corruption has always been key. So if you recall, when President Rawlings was president, one of the things that used to happen, and I remember Kofi Kumsin of the Chronicle, he used to take Rawlings's appointees to Shraj, and it's always an issue of corruption or abuse of office. And at that time, I think Nanado used to be his lawyer in those encounters. That has always been the nature of Ghana's politics. Then President Kufuor became president after Rawlings. Then the issue of the fast-track high court and the matters that came thereafter, Chachuchi Kata and all those people, quality grade. Fast forward, we got to a point where people said, look, it does appear that from the year 2001 to 2008, all the people who were corrupt, were prosecuted for corruption and corruption-related or even causing financial loss were all former appointees of Jerry Rawlings. And so during Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo's confirmation hearing in Parliament for the position of Attorney General, the question of weaponizing the office of Attorney General for political prosecution became a very strong conversation at that time. That was when the view was expressed that if that is the case, then there should be the need to have an office that if it does the prosecution, it will not be colored. It will not have any political undertone. So that conversation of having this office started kicking in. 2016, the NPP then put it in its manifesto that there was the need to have an office of special prosecutor. Let the record reflect that this is not the first time we're having an office of special prosecutor. We've had it before. In fact, under the PNDC, there was an office of special prosecutor. In fact, there was a special prosecutor, Appear in the Republic, the famous case of Appear in the Republic, where the then special prosecutor, when he was made to investigate the Kowus Motors issue, he ended up receiving bribe from the person that he was investigating. And he took the money in his Ghana International Bank account. When eventually he was to be prosecuted, he raised the jurisdiction of our criminal court by saying that our criminal jurisdiction is not extraterritorial. And to the extent that he took the money from, his Ghana Commercial Bank account in London, it means that he was not within the jurisdiction of our court. And that is where the case of the Appear and the Republic is. I think his deputy was my senior Asasi Jima at that time. They all became prosecution witnesses subsequent. So we've tried it. Even Bright Akwete, at a point, was a special prosecutor. So we've experimented this idea before. For some of us, we felt that right from the beginning, there was no need for it.
You and who?
It was a position, a personal position I have always maintained, because I have looked at Ghana's history from 1956. Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah contemplated this whole idea of having an office of special prosecutor. So it's been part of our political history. Then came the decision to have it. And at that time, I recall vividly that the argument was put forward strongly that if you look at the tenor of Article 88 of the 1992 Constitution, yes, if you look at the tenor of Article 88 of the 1992 Constitution, and the wording, first of all, is an entrenched provision. And any time the framers of the Constitution decide to make something entrenched, it means that they have in their mind a certain protection.
Which is?
To protect it from a certain interference. So if you look, it says, there shall be an Attorney General who shall be a Minister of State. In fact, he's the only known minister named in the entire Constitution. Only minister. Now it proceeds. The Attorney General shall discharge their duties, blah, 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 blah. The most important thing is 3 and 4. It says, quote, the Attorney General shall be responsible for the initiation and conduct of all criminal prosecutions in Ghana. All. No exception. 4. It says, all offenses prosecuted in the name of the Republic shall be at the suit of the Attorney General. The first case that the special prosecutor took to court, I was counsel for one of the accused persons, the Republic versus Mahama Yariga. You remember? And I represented Mahama Yariga in that matter. It was the Republic versus. It was not the special prosecutor versus. No. So what it means is that it's an offense being prosecuted in the name of the Republic. And what does it say? It says it shall be at the suit of the, shall be mandatory. So with all this, when the debate came out for Parliament, and in fact, I just went through the third reading and I saw your comments during the debate, you know, and in fact, I have the parliamentary Hansard on my phone. I looked at what Senior Enyimedu Entry, who was then chairman of the Constitutional, said. What Boabin Asamoah said. Honorable Chairman Sabonsu said. Roxanne Bernard-Ahiafo, all of them, the argument. They anticipated what is happening today then. But you see, at that time, there was so much pressure on the Akufo-Addo administration. And I want to read what is captured in the parliamentary Hansard just to demonstrate the nature of pressure that was on the government at that time. This is the Hansard of 26 October 2017. I read, Mr. Speaker, we are looking at the possibility of designing and fashioning a bill to ensure that the board becomes the only coordinating one. Proceeds. Mr. Speaker, finally, I think that we will support the bill. We know that we will continue to raise the issues. We believe that we need to fight corruption and do so in a very determined way. In order to do that, we also need to insulate the special prosecutor. Now listen, that is why the American embassy, in writing to us, in writing to us said, Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I beg to quote, our foremost recommendation, and that's from the U.S. Embassy, is that the OSP has to be seen free of political interference and political influences, unquote, the Hansard. So at that time, there was so much international pressure on the government at that time, okay, and civil society groups to have this office set up. So even when there were clear, glaring legal obstacles, it was ignored. It was ignored. In fact, I just want us to go back and read something that happened. And this is 26 October. On the 1st of November, the same special prosecutor bill. This is what happened. An engagement on the floor, 1st November 2017. With your kind permission, I just want to read. Mr. Speaker, you may do so. So this speaker telling Honorable Banda, Mr. Speaker, I beg to move clause 4, subclause 2, line 2, before authorized, insert B. Then it goes on and on. And that is why if you look at section 4.2 of the OSP Act, it tried to create a legal engineering around these constitutional injunctions. And so if you look at clause 4.2, section 4.2, statute is sessions, you cannot, with respect, you see that there was an attempt to create a supposed independent office. But that independence that they were trying to create had this challenge. So listen to what Honorable Dr. Ayene, on the 1st of November,
current Attorney General.
And that is why I personally applaud him for his consistency. Listen to what he said on 1st November 2017. He rose. Then Speaker Michael Quay asked him, any objections? Then he said, Mr. Speaker, I wanted to propose a further amendment because we have not indicated the mode of authorization by the Attorney General. So I wanted to propose that she is authorized by appropriate legal instruments. Then listen to Speaker Lokwe. Where appropriate legal process of authorization means what? Then Dr. Ayene comes in. Mr. Speaker, for instance, she could do so by a constitutional instrument or by legislative instrument, where it will spell out clearly what the jurisdiction of the Office of Special Prosecutor is. This is because what we are doing here is to say that Parliament is by statute making the Attorney General authorize the Special Prosecutor. But she is the one who is delegating that authority, and therefore has to be a mode of delegation, Mr. Speaker. That is the point I'm making. Now listen to Okwe. Mr. Speaker, that's Speaker Okwe. What kind of authorization are you anticipating again? The person has been established by an act of Parliament, and you are going to ask the Attorney General to start authorizing, bringing in matters that lawyers describe as quo warranto. It will become a big issue by what warrant?
It was mentioned in...
Yes. That's Speaker Okwe.
2017.
2017, 1st November.
But read it again.
Yes, I'm coming. Let us not create unnecessary problems. If the special prosecutor is established to perform certain functions, are we intending somebody close to give him a warrant to start that which an act of Parliament has given him or her to do? What authorization? Let us be careful that we do not open unnecessary Pandora box. This is because the issues of quo warranto, lawyer, you know, they can be very long-winded. Then your Wabia Samoa came in. So right from the beginning, even before the birth of this office, Parliament on the 1st of November, reading the interaction between the Honorable Dr. Dominic Ayene and Speaker Michael Quay, the idea of having authorization has always been an issue. Okwe's fear, which he expressed in the Hansard, was that doing so will create, according to him, open the Pandora box. What Pandora box?
Okay.
Today, the very reasons what he, Michael Quay, raised an issue with Dr. Ayene, he's all over the place repeating the very concerns Dr. Ayene has raised.
It's just a perspective he's sharing.
No.
Not necessarily his position when he was presiding.
No. I believe
the two cannot be the same.
I believe in consistency. He was the speaker who, shepherded, he was the grandfather of this process.
Egyaper.
The concerns he raised are still valid today. let me make this point. The Akufo-Addo administration felt that they needed an independent so-called office for the sole purposes of political witch hunts.
That's from your perspective.
I'm coming. I'll conclude. I'll conclude. However, they then realized that no, this whole idea of OSP is of no moment. Why? From the time Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo became president, he appointed 2 attorney generals. Godfred Yebu-Adame and Madame Gloria Akufo. Correct.
Correct.
It was under the tenure of President Akufo-Addo that he prosecuted the Cocoa Board matters, Dr. Upuni's matter, and Sedu Agogo and Agriculture. The NCA matter, the SNIT OBS matter, he prosecuted the Honorable Ato-Forson on the ambulance matter. In fact, Opuni was prosecuted in April 2018 when the office was in existence. Do you know why they never got the office to do that? Because Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo wanted control on the prosecution of his political opponents. Because if you look at the framers and their intention for Article 88, they want the president to have control over prosecutions. Because prosecution is a public policy tool to be used by the executive only. And therefore, Akufo-Addo, who had been Attorney General before, understood this. So you notice that all the NDC appointees that were prosecuted from 2017 to 2024 were all prosecuted by the attorney generals appointed by Nana Addo Dankwa. None of them was referred. In any case, when was Ato-Forson prosecuted? Ato-Forson was prosecuted in 2021, December 22nd, by which time the office was already in existence. Do you know why Akufo-Addo never asked the OSP to take over that prosecution? No, he wanted Godfred Dame to have control over those prosecutions. He didn't want a special prosecutor, so-called, who he couldn't control. And so let nobody come here and create an impression that the person who created the office meant well for this republic. No. He himself had his own personal agenda. After the experiment with Martin Amidu failed, after he did the corruption risk assessment on the Egyaper deal, it became clear that Akufo-Addo could not trust anybody to hold that office. And so whatever became of that office was cosmetic, respectfully.
And if I take a cue from a post from lawyer Kojo Ankoma, and that's lawyer Enan Ankoma, he says that Parliament passed the OSP Act to satisfy the constitutional requirement, and then posits that the AG nominated the special prosecutor not to attend a fufu, of course, goes on to indicate what needs to be done. He says the president appointed with Parliament approval, that's the special prosecutor, and crucially, the AG issued legislative instruments, especially LI 2374, which explicitly empowered the OSP to decide whether or not to prosecute after investigations, and indeed even after the other LI also was passed as well. So, according to lawyer Kojo Enanankoma, the delegation isn't just a casual one. He continued, it's layer upon layer of legal and constitutional authorization, and continues that, in fact, the AG didn't just give a fiat. The AG went further and embedded that authority in subsidiary legislation.
No, so if I understand what my senior Ankoma is saying, that the authorization is due to the LI, is that what he's saying?
No.
What is it? So read the post again.
Yeah, because he says, and if you take a look at...
Not a problem. You let me have my bite.
All right, ebusuya edamu na masisa mojibre na dani den na mojibre na mediti na mdhweye higher GH Politics Avenue, Ghana Politics Avenue, and then they can buy a video from Kunso or Darama, and you know book also. And best subscribe to channel, subscribe via and notification bell, not Udu Sabo, so say by video any video for be able to do Mubiano on Savage Miaka, low who dear course for Ghana, and man of send many a cabin can be a memo. I feel so we are video bedroom when you one like here share ama of so any be a or like here no share ama of so any be a now almost the air course for Ghana. I'm going to send now if it's comment sections, don't leave them empty. Pass, leave your comment there. Chairman and chairman, you share you who a bit my faso. Ama a Ghana, a man send me a government give me a moon across where you get to be a bit my chain chair. You need also a damina master somebody at the IG 7 a criminal. Bye bye.